Welcome back, mindful speakers and curious communicators. Today on the podcast, we're stepping back into the linguistic workshop to talk about a practice that can genuinely and profoundly transform how you express yourself. It's all about a simple but powerful mantra that we've come to love. Don't say this, say that instead. I'm Isabella, and with me today, as always, is my co-pilot in all things fascinating, Diego. Our conversation is about much more than just words. It's about choosing to communicate with greater clarity, greater impact, and greater empathy.
Hello, Isabella, and a warm welcome back to all of our listeners. I absolutely love this topic because, as you said, it goes so far beyond mere vocabulary. This isn't about being overly formal or trying to use complicated words to sound intelligent. It's about being precise. It's about being deliberate with your language, choosing a word that perfectly fits the emotion or idea you want to convey instead of relying on a vague, catch-all word that just gets you in the ballpark. The difference in communication is like the difference between a blurry, out-of-focus photograph and a stunningly sharp, focused one that captures every single detail.
That's a perfect and incredibly apt analogy, Diego. Let's start with a couple of the most common culprits, the ones that have become such habitual defaults for so many of us. I'm thinking of two words that English learners and even native speakers use all the time to describe their feelings: happy and sad. They're like the basic primary colors on the child's paint palette: red, blue, yellow. While they get the basic job done, they lack all the beautiful nuance and intricate detail that make our human emotions so rich and complex.
Absolutely. Imagine you're trying to share a story with a friend about a recent trip, maybe a trip you took to a breathtaking national park. You could say, "I was really happy to be there." That's okay, but it's a bit flat and uninspired, isn't it? What if you were to say, "I was absolutely ecstatic to be there," or maybe "I was simply thrilled"? Those words don't just state a fact. They paint a much more vivid, powerful, and memorable picture of your joy, allowing your listener to feel the emotion with you. You're sharing an experience, not just reporting on it.
Exactly. And what's so powerful is how many subtle variations there are. If you were feeling a quieter, more profound rush of joy, you could say you felt content, or maybe even joyful. Each one has a distinctly different texture and a different emotional temperature. Content suggests a deep, peaceful satisfaction with the present moment, while joyful suggests a more bubbling, radiant, and outwardly expressive feeling. They all mean a version of happy, but each one tells a uniquely different and specific story about your state of mind.
The same goes for the opposite emotion. Instead of saying, "I was so sad when the movie ended," try using a stronger, more precise word. Maybe you were devastated or heartbroken, which communicate a profound and crippling sense of loss. Or if the sadness was less intense, perhaps you were dejected, which implies a sense of disappointment and low spirits. Or just feeling a bit somber, which suggests a thoughtful, serious, and perhaps even melancholy mood. The single word sad just doesn't come close to capturing the true depth and intricate complexity of the human emotional spectrum.
It really doesn't. And to add yet another layer, think of the difference between being melancholy, which suggests a pensive, thoughtful kind of sadness, often with a hint of wistfulness, versus being despondent, which implies a much deeper, more crushing sense of hopelessness and discouragement. See how one well-chosen word can convey an entire emotional landscape in an instant? It's not just about a feeling, it's about the very quality of that feeling.
That's so true. It's like using a more advanced and more accurate tool for the job. Now let's move on to some of the most overused adjectives in the English language. I'm talking about good and nice. We use them to describe everything: a meal, a person, a movie, an experience. That was a good book. He's a nice person. They're like linguistic filler, a default that allows us to avoid the effort of deeper description.
Oh, they are. They're so generic, they barely mean anything at all, and they often come across as unenthusiastic. When you say the restaurant served a good meal, you're not telling me anything about the food. Was it delicious? Was it mouth-watering? Was it so well prepared that it was exquisite? A good piece of advice could be sound or astute. A good performance could be stellar or exceptional. The right word gives your opinion authenticity and weight.
Exactly. And when you're describing a person as nice, you're doing them a disservice because nice can sometimes be a passive, even backhanded compliment. What about them is nice? Were they considerate? Were they kind-hearted? Were they cordial or amiable? Were they just plain delightful or charming? Using more specific words automatically makes you sound more thoughtful, more confident, and more genuine in your praise.
That's it. Instead of saying, that's a good idea, you could say, that's an excellent idea, or a superb idea, or a brilliant idea. Each of those gives more weight to your praise, showing that you've truly evaluated the idea and found it to be impressive. Your words become a form of validation, not just a simple acknowledgement.
Speaking of weak words, let's talk about the lazy intensifier, very. It's a crutch. We use it to try to make our weak adjective stronger, but often it just highlights how weak the original adjective is. We rely on it because it's easy, but it's a habit we can easily break.
I completely agree. The best way to beat this habit is to find a single, powerful word that replaces the two. Instead of saying very hungry, a much more descriptive word is ravenous. Instead of very tired, you could say you're exhausted or drained. When you use words like that, you don't need very anymore, and your language becomes more dynamic, more impactful, and more elegant.
Let's try a few more because this is such a common habit. Instead of very happy, we already said ecstatic or thrilled. What about very cold?
That could be frigid or freezing. And what about very beautiful?
You could say stunning, gorgeous, or breathtaking. What about very big? That's a common one.
Very big could be colossal, mammoth, or immense, and very small could be minute, tiny, or microscopic. Using these single words is so much more impactful. It's a testament to the fact that sometimes less is more when it comes to the number of words, as long as the words themselves are stronger. It shows you have a rich vocabulary and you're not afraid to use it. It elevates your entire message.
The subtleties of language, from phrases to emotional honesty. This isn't just about adjectives, though. We also have to be careful with the phrases we use. For instance, in professional or academic contexts, phrases like I think or in my opinion can sometimes weaken your statement, making you sound unsure or hesitant. It's a verbal safety net.
That's a great point. While it's good to be humble, constantly prefacing your ideas with I think can make them sound like they're not fully formed or that you're not truly committed to them. You could say, I believe that, or it appears that, or even based on my analysis to sound more confident and authoritative. These phrases show that you've put thought into your words without sounding arrogant. They simply present your conviction with a firmer tone.
Or even just stating the point directly if you have the data to back it up. Instead of saying, I think we should launch the product in Q3, you could say launching the product in Q3 aligns with our market research, which suggests this is a critical shift. It's about moving from a personal thought to a data-backed statement. It shows you're a leader, not just a hesitant participant in the conversation.
And it's a similar story with another overused phrase, a lot. I have a lot of work to do. There are a lot of challenges. This phrase is so vague that it gives no specific sense of scale or gravity. It could mean 2 items or 2,000.
Exactly. Instead of a lot, you could use words like numerous, abundant, or plentiful. These words offer a more descriptive and professional way to express the same idea. Or even better, you could quantify it. Instead of I have a lot of emails, you could say I have dozens of emails to respond to, which is far more concrete and professional.
That's a huge improvement. And on the topic of filler words, let's address something that's particularly common in spoken English, like and actually. People use them to punctuate nearly every sentence, even when they're not needed. It was like a really cool movie, or she was like so upset, or I was like actually there.
That's a habit that's incredibly easy to fall into, but it can make a speaker sound unsure, hesitant, or even immature. Instead of using like or actually as a verbal crutch, the best thing you can do is simply pause. A brief silence while you collect your thoughts is infinitely more powerful and confident than a filler word. It gives your listener a chance to absorb what you've said and gives you a moment to formulate your next impactful thought.
I completely agree. And while we're on the subject of vague language, let's talk about the words stuff and things. I have so much stuff to do. Can you grab all those things off the table? These words are lazy and unspecific, leaving the listener to guess at your meaning.
They really are. Instead of I have so much stuff to do, you could say I have so many tasks to complete or I have so many chores to get through. And instead of grab those things off the table, you could say, can you grab the documents and the notebook off the table? This kind of precision saves time, eliminates confusion, and shows you thought about what you're asking.
That's a huge improvement.
And on the topic of vague words, let's address something that's particularly common in spoken English, like and actually. People use them to punctuate nearly every sentence, even when they're not needed. It was like a really cool movie, or she was like so upset, or I was like actually there.
That's a habit that's incredibly easy to fall into, but it can make a speaker sound unsure, hesitant, or even immature. Instead of using like or actually as a verbal crutch, the best thing you can do is simply pause. A brief silence while you collect your thoughts is infinitely more powerful and confident than a filler word. It gives your listener a chance to absorb what you've said and gives you a moment to formulate your next impactful thought.
I completely agree. And while we're on the subject of vague language, let's talk about the words stuff and things. I have so much stuff to do. Can you grab all those things off the table? These words are lazy and unspecific, leaving the listener to guess at your meaning.
They really are. Instead of I have so much stuff to do, you could say I have so many tasks to complete, or I have so many chores to get through. And instead of grab those things off the table, you could say, can you grab the documents and the notebook off the table? This kind of precision saves time, eliminates confusion, and shows you've thought about what you're asking.
The deeper why, from communication to connection.
So, to our listeners, why is this practice so important? It's not just about sounding impressive, it's about a more profound and fundamental goal: clarity and connection.
That's it. Stronger words are more precise. They help you communicate your exact meaning, leaving less room for misinterpretation or misunderstanding. They also make your speech and writing more engaging and memorable. People are far more likely to remember a vivid description than a bland, generic one.
And it's also builds credibility and confidence. Using a diverse and precise vocabulary shows that you've mastered the nuances of the language, which naturally makes you sound more authoritative and self-assured, whether you're speaking at a major business meeting or just having a casual chat with a friend. You project an image of someone who is thoughtful and deliberate.
And ultimately, it's a powerful form of personal growth. Consciously choosing your words forces you to think more deeply and critically about what you want to say. It builds self-awareness and linguistic confidence. It's a habit that enriches all areas of your life, from professional presentations and personal relationships to your own internal monologue.
So, to our listeners who want to start this journey, a simple practice is to pick one of these weak words like good or very and consciously try to replace it just once a day. Keep a mental list or even a small notebook of new words you want to add to your vocabulary.
That's a great actionable tip. I also love the 2-word rule. When you catch yourself using a weak word,
Challenge yourself to come up with 2 better, more specific alternatives. It's a quick mental exercise that builds your vocabulary muscle. And remember that this is a journey, not a race. You're simply choosing to be more mindful, one word at a time.
And a final exercise for everyone listening. For the next week, whenever you're listening to a podcast or reading a book, actively try to identify the strong words the hosts or authors use. When you encounter a word like ravishing or imperative or unflappable, stop and think, what a great way to say very beautiful or very important or calm. This trains your ear and your mind to recognize and appreciate better vocabulary, making it easier for you to use those words yourself later.
Thank you so much, Diego, for this incredibly insightful and enriching conversation. And thank you, dear listeners, for joining us on this journey. Remember, your words are not just sounds. They are your most powerful tools for connection and expression. Let's make them sharp, polished, and ready to build a better, more connected world.
Until next time, keep speaking with purpose.